The United States presidential elections. Let's meet our candidates. The first presidential candidate is Hillary Clinton, and the second one is Donald J. Trump. Let's take a look at Clinton's profile. Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton was born on October 26, 1947. She was born in Chicago and is currently 69 years old. Hillary Clinton is married to William Jefferson Clinton, more famously known as Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was the 42nd President of the United States. In her 3 decades as a politician, Hillary Clinton has several major accomplishments in her career. For example, she was able to negotiate a ceasefire between Israel and Palestine. She had also fought for women's rights throughout her career. Now, let's take a look at Trump's profile. Donald John Trump was born on June 14, 1946. He was born in New York City, New York. Trump has been divorced 2 times and is currently married to Melania Knauss. He has 5 children in total. Even though he is running for president, Donald Trump has no previous political experience. However, he has been a successful businessman throughout his life. He has several major accomplishments, which include the Trump Tower and his presidential campaign. Now, let's take a look at the differences between the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democrats and the Republicans are the 2 major parties in the United States government. The Democrats are often associated with a donkey and a left-wing ideology. The leftist ideology is mainly focused on progress. It also supports the idea of openness and liberalism. The Republicans, on the other hand, are often associated with an elephant and a right-wing ideology. They are also known to be more conservative and a little bit more traditional. Let's take a look at some of the main features of the left-wing ideology. The ideology promotes equality amongst people. This includes gender equality and age equality. It also promotes the idea that everyone has the potential to be successful, and then we should all help ourselves and others to try and unlock this potential. Now, let's examine the main concepts of the right-wing ideology. The Republicans are more focused on sticking with what works, the more traditional things. They would go along the lines of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. For example, they are against raising the minimum wage because it would change the economy drastically in unknown ways. However, they are willing to make changes if they believe that it would improve the country's condition. Another main difference between the Democrats and the Republicans is that the Democrats would look for a leader who are more related and equal to themselves, just like Hillary Clinton, while the Republicans would often look for a leader who shows superiority in his or herself, just like Donald Trump. As we all know, the Democrats are strong within the northern states of the US, while the Republicans are strong with the southern states. But it wasn't always like this. Here's a map of the 2 parties' territories before the election of President Richard Nixon. As you can see, the Democrats are actually stronger in the south and the Republicans are stronger in the north. This is the direct opposite of the map we see today. So what happened that resulted in the map being as it is today? Well, the map changed when President Nixon presented the Southern Strategy. The Southern Strategy's main purpose was to target whites in the South to vote for the Republicans. The Republicans did this by appealing to the Southern white Democrats who were against the African American community. Due to how the African American community in the South were beginning to vote for the Democrats, the Southern white Democrats began to turn away from the Democratic Party. The Southern Strategy enabled most of the Southern white people to join the Republican Party. As we can see from the map of the 2012 presidential election between President Barack Obama and Mitt Romney, the map now has its familiar color. The Democrats, who are blue, now largely controls the North, while the Republicans, who are red, now largely controls the South as a result from the Southern strategy. This division between the two opposite ideologies of the Democrats and the Republicans has led to some experts wondering whether or not divisive opinions affect the voters and the civilians in general. A study from the Atlantic and the Aspen Institute polled 2,000 people to find out how divided the nation is in specific issues. They found that Americans are most divided in their opinions when it comes to gun control and immigration. The Democrats and Hillary Clinton want to regulate the gun market and is therefore pro-gun control. Their argument is that by regulating guns, terror attacks such as the Columbine High School massacre would be reduced. They also pointed out that gun control would reduce the number of suicides in the country as well. On the other hand, the Republicans and Donald Trump argued that guns had actually saved more lives than it has taken them. Moving on to immigration, Hillary Clinton and the Democrats typically believe that the United States should let the immigrants into the country. They claimed that by doing this, the immigrants would boost the economy. This is due to how they would fill in the jobs and increase the economic productivity of the country. Another point that the Democrats presented was that it would increase diversity and lead to a healthier relationship with other countries. Donald Trump and the Republicans typically disagree with this. They argued that the borders should be closed and we should do more inspection and screening to the people who are coming into the country. They pointed out that the country is facing a wave of illegal immigrants who are mainly coming from Mexico. They stated that these illegal immigrants are taking all the jobs in the country and leaving the American people jobless. Donald Trump even went further by stating that these Mexicans who are coming into the country illegally are responsible for most of the crimes such as burglary and rape. These issues can really tell us a lot about the candidate's view and plan on how to improve the country. Another way to really understand the candidate's perspective is by analyzing interest groups and the candidate's sources of funding. So what exactly are interest groups? So in general, interest groups are a group of people that have the same idea or purpose on a certain issue. An example of an interest group would be the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, also known as the AFL-CIO, whose goal is to improve working conditions and also help the workers themselves. By understanding the goal of these interest groups, we can also understand the candidate's view on that issue. For example, the interest group Numbers USA, which goal is to reduce the number of immigrants, gave a high rating towards Donald Trump. This tells us that Donald Trump also wants to reduce the number of immigrants coming into the country, which is true. The same concept goes to the interest group Solar Tribune and Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton also supports the use of solar energy, which explains why the interest group Solar Tribune gave a high rating towards her. As you can see, the ratings given by interest groups on a candidate can really tell us a lot regarding the candidate's perspective on the topic. Another way we can do this is by looking at the candidate's sources of funding. The sources of funding are basically a data that shows which corporations or companies are funding for the candidate's campaign. They would fund for the candidate that they think would benefit them the most. According to Votesmart.org, Donald Trump's top contributor, for example, is Murray Energy. The main contributor for Hillary Clinton, however, is from the University of California. This shows us that Trump is more focused on things such as the economy for the country, just like how the Murray Energy is more focused on making profit. However, education is what Clinton is more focused on, which is why she is being funded by the University of California. Both the interest groups' ratings and the sources of funding really tells us a lot about the candidates' plans and their views about the ongoing issues. Now that we have covered the background of the candidates and their respective parties, let's move on to how they could get elected as president. The election process. The first part of the election process for any candidate is by putting the names on the presidential ballot. A candidate can get the names on the presidential ballot in three main ways. The first way to do it is through the nomination of a political party. The candidate can get selected by the delegates from individual states at the nominating conventions. The candidate with the most delegations for a party will be the nominee for that particular party. Both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, for example, used this process to get nominated as the nominee for the Democrats and the Republicans respectively. The second way an individual could run for president is by running as an independent. These individuals could get their name on the presidential ballot if they are able to collect 880,000 signed petitions from each state. The last and the most uncommon way a candidate can get their names on the presidential ballot is by being a write-in candidate. A write-in candidate has to file a paperwork prior to the election in order to run. However, a write-in candidate has a low chance of winning due to how some states doesn't even allow them to file the paperwork. Once the country has chosen which presidential candidate could get their name on the presidential ballot, it's time to choose the new president. The process of electing the president is called as the Electoral College system. The citizens would often vote at stations that are located near them. This is crucial due to how some states, such as Florida and Ohio, have the system of winner takes all. This means that if the majority of the vote in a state is for Hillary Clinton, that state will give all of its delegates to Hillary Clinton. For example, if 70% of the votes in Florida goes to Donald Trump, then all 29 delegates of Florida will go to Donald Trump and none for Hillary Clinton. Some may argue with this system as there is a possibility of a minority president, such as President George W. Bush. A minority president happens when the elected president actually has less popular votes compared to his or her opponent but more electoral votes. This can happen due to how some states have that winner-takes-all system that was mentioned earlier. This becomes a problem because the supporters of the losing candidate will be mad because they think that their candidate should win. This will lead to the nation becoming divided by 50-50 and a lot of fights and demonstrations might start between the two opposite supporters. Despite its disadvantages, the Electoral College system is an overall positive system for the presidential elections. It is a fast system and it also maintains the federal system of government and representation. Now that we know how the Electoral College system works, let's see how the candidates can persuade the voters to vote for them. They could do this through the presidential debates. The presidential debate is a debate that is held before every election between the main presidential candidates. The purpose of the presidential debate is to give the chance for the presidential candidates to present their plans for the country and convince the people to vote for them. In the 2016 presidential elections, there were 3 debates between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump that were held on 3 different dates and 3 separate locations. The first one was at Hofstra University on September 26, 2016. The second one was at Washington University on October 9, 2016. And the third and final one was held at the University of Nevada on October 19, 2016. Some of the topics that were discussed during the debates are gun control, immigration, trade, national security, and a whole lot more. Both Trump and Clinton presented their views and plans on these topics during the debates. More than half of the time, their opinions would be direct opposite of one another. Take trade, for example. During the first presidential debate, Donald Trump pointed out that he wants to reduce trade and he will try to keep the jobs in America. He believes that this move would increase the country's economy. Hillary Clinton, however, had a totally different opinion on this issue. She disagrees with Trump's plan and she thinks that America should trade with a lot of other countries. This is her opinion on improving the country's economy. These examples prove that the presidential debate is designed to let the candidates share their plans on these kinds of issues. After the debates, eligible voters would go and vote for whichever candidate that they think would be best to become the next president. For the 2016 presidential election, the election day would be on November 8, 2016. The candidate who wins the election will be sworn into office as the President of the United States on the Inauguration Day in January 2017. The new President of the United States will hold the office for the next 4 years before the next presidential election begins. Thank you for watching, and who do you think should become the next president?